we're excited to be back in Canada. Now we are just going to find a place to sleep for tonight. Tomorrow morning we will refill our gas, our propane, and our groceries, and then we are going to head to Waterton National Park. Super excited to get to the national park and hope that we can get a spot because it's all first come first serve. So we will check back in with you tomorrow once we get to that national park.
So we just crossed the border. We're all happy, we're on a high, we're like, woo, we gotta cross the border, woo, we're back in Canada, woo! I don't know, it smells like freedom or something. And then, we hear, smack! A rock hit my windshield. And there's a chip in my windshield.
There's a chip, yeah, there it is. You see that black dot?
It's like a little chip right here.
Yeah.
We got a chip in this windshield once before, and it started to crack, and we got it filled right away, and it like stopped and it didn't spread. But now we have this guy.
And there's nowhere to fill it because we're in the middle of nowhere.
Middle of nowhere. And it's gonna be really cold, so
We're just hoping it's not too deep because it sounded like a pebble.
It sounded so small. We got hit in the windshield like 6 times today by rocks while driving through Montana. None of them cracked it, and this thing sounded like a freaking acorn.
Yeah, it sucks, but.
So, cross your fingers that that's not gonna spread, and that our frozen pipes didn't burst, because I found out some of the pipes in our bathroom actually did freeze last night. So we're just hoping that they didn't burst. They're thawed now, but I haven't seen any leakage, so that's a good thing.
There's gonna be a big update tomorrow. Does our pipes burst? Does this spread? Is there a place to sleep tomorrow night? So just keep watching.
Tuned.
Yeah, keep watching and you're gonna find out.
Subscribe and hit that bell and come back for the next episode to find out all of these crazy answers and come to Waterton National Park with us. Let's go! Good morning. It is now the following day. It is Sunday. We have arrived basically where we were going in this 7-day stretch. So we're currently in Cardston, Alberta. So about 40 or so minutes north of the US border. We crossed over last night. We are now here because we found a really cool iOverlander spot to boondock. So it's actually behind, over here is the tourism information building for this town. So we slept here for the night last night. Everything went really smooth last night. The battery was at 88% when we got here, which was kind of confusing to me because we had been driving for about 9 hours yesterday, I think. So it had been plugged into the truck, and we have a solar panel up there, 60 watt, I think. So I expected to get here and the battery be at 100%, but it was only at 88, which is kind of confusing to me. Sorry, not 88, 68, which is even worse. So I'm gonna look into that. I might need to get a new battery. I might want to upgrade to like a lithium battery because we just have lead acid. But anyway, that's besides the point. Everything else went really smooth last night. It was nice and warm here. I think the low overnight was only 2 degrees Celsius, so we didn't have to worry about anything freezing. The battery stayed alive all night. We had the furnace running for a bit. It wasn't that cold, so it was great. It was great. This morning, we just woke up about an hour ago. Storm took the dogs out. I put the generator up so that we could make some coffee inside. Storm is washing the dishes right now, and what we're planning on doing is, in this town, just a couple streets up, is a grocery store and a place we can get propane filled. In Waterton National Park, there's a little town. Everything is closed. There's nothing there. So there's no gas, no food, no propane. So in this town, we're about an hour away from the park. We're going to fill all those 3 things up. We just planned a grocery list. We're gonna get all of our propane filled. We're gonna fill the tank of gas in the truck because we're gonna do some driving around in the park. So we wanna make sure we got enough gas for that. And yeah, so we're gonna do all that, running around. Hopefully we can get out of here in about an hour and make our way to Waterton. So very, very exciting. Come along for that day and you'll get to see the insanely beautiful national park in southern Alberta. Hopefully it's not too frozen and under feet of snow.
All right, we are saying goodbye to last night's spot. This was a great place to sleep. Perfect boondocking spot, big park for the dogs. Now we're gonna roll out, restock our groceries and propane, and make it to Waterton. Ooh.
All right, good news. We were able to get groceries, everything we wanted, and gas, which was great. It was a little, it was expensive, right?
It was $137. I don't know if that's expensive. I kind of think so, but I'm not sure.
We need to like do the math now in our heads and like convert over what we've been paying in the US, because the US is gallons, like dollars per gallon, and it's US dollars per gallon, obviously. And then when you get into Canada, it switches over to liters, dollars per liter, and then you're using Canadian dollars. So it's like, you can't, it's so hard to compare the two of them. It doesn't matter. We filled up on gas. We were not able to get propane because nowhere in town actually refills propane tanks. They only do the exchange program where...
Well, some of them did, but they weren't open because it was a small town and it's Sunday.
Yeah. So the one place that we think refills propane was closed today because it's Sunday. So if we run out of propane, because we still have about a full tank between our two tanks, we have like a full tank. If we need to refill, I'll just drive back. It's 40 minutes. We'll fill up, whatever. It is what it is. What was the other thing I was gonna say?
I don't know, but we're on our way into Waterton now, and look at that view. Back in the mountains, baby. I mean, technically we were never away from the mountains because they were always there, but we're driving into them now. They look very snowy, very cold, but also very beautiful. So we're gonna be in Waterton in 23 minutes. That's where we're going, closer into those mountains. How are we feeling? Excited?
I'm excited. I'm very excited.
We want to
hope that this is nice. It's supposed to be decent weather this week. It's not gonna get too cold, so that'll be nice. We want to try and do as much hiking as we can, but they don't maintain this place at all, so all of the trails are gonna be snowy and stuff, so
we'll see.
We'll see.
But yep, we're excited. We will show you the campsite once we get to it, and cross your fingers for us that it's actually available. Let's go. All right, we have arrived at Waterton and we're feeling a little bit defeated. So the park has no snow, or basically no snow, but the entrance to get into the park, they are literally piling the snow up in front of it. The operating season is supposed to be April 1st, weather permitting, and the weather is perfect. It's warm, there's hardly any snow around. Like, if you look here, this is the park. There's tons of open spots, but there is the pile that they're piling the snow up in front of. So we can't get in. Dalton is asking the guy who's piling the snow up in front of it if he knows when they're gonna move it, if they know what's going on, because there's nowhere else to stay in this park. So I guess we're gonna wait and see what this guy has to say.
This is the snow pile that we are talking about. So they would have to move all of that snow. Huge problem.
Well, I have an update. Basically, the guy who's cleaning the snow said that he knows nothing about April 1st, this campground being open, and he works for the highway people who clear snow off the highways. And they've been storing their snow at this entrance to the park all winter long. So he basically said he has no idea. He doesn't think that it's open. He doesn't think any of the services are even turned on. And he told me to just go over to the visitor center, which is a street away, and ask them about it. But he said that they're probably just going to turn us around and tell us to go to a different campground outside of the park. So
we'll just go ask them and see what they have to say, because if this opens next week, maybe. Because it
Yeah.
said April 1st, depending on weather. So I don't know why this guy is putting snow here. Like,
he said that if I go into the visitor center and they say, yeah, it's supposed to be open April 1st, then they are going to have to get a hold of somebody at the Department of Transportation higher up than him to then tell him to come and move the snow, because he's just a laborer and he's just doing what he's told.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
It's going to take a long time to move this snow. It's a huge pile of snow.
Yeah, and like, where are you going to put it, right?
And yeah, what? I don't know. All right, well, let's go to the visitor center and
Yeah.
find out our options.
I really don't want to have to turn around and go back out again, but it is what it is. Let's go. All right, so we just came out of the visitor center. They basically told us that, yeah, sure, it says on the website that they open April 1st, but normally we just don't open it until we get enough staff to open one of the bathrooms, which means we don't normally open it until May when the students start. Basically, this campground is not going to open, and she told us that the only option is to go to a day use area that they have around here that they use as a campground during the winter time. But there's absolutely no hookups. So we're kind of screwed because we are only allowed to run our generator there at certain times of the day. We don't have enough propane right now in order to run our generator for an entire week and run the furnace. And we don't have any water, which is supposed to all happen and be here. Like, this place has electricity and we could have filled our water here. So let's take a minute. This is a dip and everything has a solution, okay? According to iOverlander, we can fill our water at the fire station, which is nearby. So we're gonna go to the fire station and see if we can fill our water. Let's start with that. Then after we get our water filled, we're gonna go over to this campground and make sure that there's a spot available for us because there's only 12 spots. If that doesn't work, we saw a campground on the way into the park and it looked like people were there and camping. So we'll have to find that again, I guess. I don't know what it was called. Storm found one on the map called Sleepy Hollow, but they're not answering the phone. So
Not off to a good start.
Not off to a great start there, but let's just hope we can get into this 12 spot day use area thing.
Let's start with the water and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Let's go.
All right. Update. We are at the fire station. We're filling the water. Thankfully, the water is actually on and we're able to fill it, so that's great. iOverlander has only let us down once so far. So here's our plan. We're gonna fill the water right now. We're gonna head over to this day use area inside the park that offers the camping. We're gonna check it out and see if there's any sites available that we can stay in. We're gonna park there. We're gonna check what the generator hours are. Our plan is we're gonna try to stay there as long as we can. And then we found a campground that's actually closed right now. They opened a few weeks ago and then had to re-close themselves because it got too cold. But it's 40 minutes outside of the park, and Storm just called, and it's like this nice old dude who just owns the campground who said that he would be gracious enough to host us, thankfully. He said that they have everything. So I don't know if that means they have a dump station or if it's full hookup at the campsite, but either way.
I found a free dump station in that same town. So if he doesn't have dump station, for whatever reason, but I think he does, we can go there.
Okay, well that's perfect then. So I think what we're gonna try to do is stay at this day use area for at least a few days until either we run out of water and we don't want to come over here and fill up. I don't know. We'll deal with that at that time. Or we run out of propane, which is the more likely option. We're probably going to run out of propane first. If we run out of propane, we will decide whether we just leave and go to that campground and buy propane in town, or we fill up our propane, come back. Like, I don't know. We'll figure that out at the time. But for now, we're going to try and stay in the day use area for a few days. Hey, well, this might have been a blessing in disguise, to be honest, because look at how beautiful this is. There's nobody else here right now. We're right next to a river. I don't know what this building is. You have to self-register, so that's probably the registration. But look at this. This is one of the sites, and there's a nice river running behind us. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Okay. We're protected from the wind, which was one of the things we were a bit concerned about, because if that wind is blasting us, we're gonna need to burn more propane. It's really muddy, which sucks. But, it's really, really pretty, and there's nobody here. We've got bathrooms, so we don't need to use our own bathroom, which would fill up the black tank and reduce how long we can boondock here for. So I think what Storm's thinking is we park back here, the very last site. Wow. We could have this whole river to ourselves. The only problem is we're limited on propane. All right, let's see what Storm thinks.
Okay, so I think this is the best spot. It's at the end. It's not muddy at all. And then if we can pull the trailer in and park kind of where Dalton is standing, then this will be our front door. And I mean, that's a pretty good front door. The mountains will be in the background, and then we've got a beautiful river here. We can listen to the river at night. It's not muddy. I don't know how long we'll be able to stay still, but it's still really nice. So, and I think it's free, but I don't know. We have to go look. So.
Yeah, let's go find out if it's free, and then we'll park it.
Yeah. We've been stuffed. What do we do?
We've been here for like 5 minutes. Let me go first.
Just because if they're gonna do anything, they'd probably attack Minnie.
I think they're gonna be scared once we get up there. But
Hi, buddy. Well, we've been on the trail for about 4 seconds and we got stopped by local traffic. Pretty cool. And that is first hike of the season completed. How did we feel?
Great.
It was pretty good.
It was a little hard, just the right amount. Good views all around.
It was definitely a good introductory hike because it was only 200 meters of elevation gain, which is like 600 or so feet.
Like nothing.
Which is like nothing compared to a lot of the hikes that we've done before. So it's good to get into it with that. It was a bit snowy and wet and stuff, which made it a little bit more difficult, but
That's to be expected though this time of year.
yeah, that is this time of year. That is hiking in April. So I think it was a great first hike. The views were incredible. The dogs are muddy and wet and disgusting,
Yep.
but that was fun. I liked it.
Tired.
Yeah. All right, let's head back to the campsite, figure out how and what do we pay for this thing, and yeah.
And dinner.
Oh yeah, dinner. The most important part of the day. Okay, so this is the campsite. Once we're all set up, Storm's standing there with the dogs. We got a nice little fire pit, which you have to pay $11 a day to have a fire permit for, so we're probably not gonna do that, but look at the river view that we got. This is awesome. And we're at the very end, so there's nobody next to us over here. We got our own little parking spot off to the side. Basically between the trailer door and the other side of the campsite, we just have all this extra room. It's fantastic. And then there's other people here. They're just here for the day, but we've had this campsite to ourselves for like multiple days now, which is awesome. So yeah, we have some updates for you though. So we will give you those updates in a minute. We're just gonna take the dogs for a quick walk and then it's time for our major update. Are you excited? Okay. All right, it's time for our update. We just came back from a very cold walk.
It's very windy out there.
So we got to Waterton on Sunday, and you saw all the stuff about the campsite being closed and all of that sort of rigmarole that we had to run around with. That's fine. So we've been camping at the day use area, which has no hookups, no nothing. There's literally nothing here. There's an outhouse toilet that you can use, and the Canadian National Park charges $17.50 per night. That's fine. I guess I'm willing to pay that. It's a little annoying because you get nothing. Like, there's nothing here. So, whatever. But, as you already know, we were very low on propane. So,
The ongoing battle.
yeah, it's been a struggle. So we've basically been conserving water as much as possible so that we don't run out of water. The amount of propane that we used in the first day or two, like we had a tank that had, I don't know, like 1/6 of the tank left, and then the other tank was like 2/3 full. So the amount of propane we used in like the first 2 days with running the furnace when we needed to, and then running the generator, because our generator is dual power, we can use propane to run it. We would have to run the generator a couple hours a day to charge up our laptop so that we could do our work. Thankfully, we get decent enough service on our phones that we can just hotspot, so we didn't have to put the Starlink up. Long story short, that tank that had very little left in it ran out yesterday?
Yeah.
Yesterday morning? Was it? It was like midday.
Yeah, because I couldn't make a coffee. It ran out during when my coffee was going.
That's right. So yesterday morning. So we survived Sunday night, all day Monday, and then like Monday night.
Longer than we expected.
Way longer than we expected. I've been using that toilet, like the outhouse toilet, as much as possible so that the black tank isn't our limiting factor. So really, we kind of figured our actual limit to how long we could stay here was going to be the propane. And with 2/3 of a tank left, we figured we could stay until probably Saturday or Sunday, and then it's a 40-minute drive to go get propane. So we're like, we can just go get propane and come right back, and it'll be dandy. If we run out of water, the town fire hall has water here, so it's like a 5-minute drive. Needless to say, last night at 1:30 in the morning, I woke up to some funny noises. And I thought at first it was just like ice hitting the window, like little hail particles hitting the window, because that's what it had sounded like. And then it got louder and more consistent and louder, and I realized, holy crap, that's a mouse. So I got up, I followed the sound, and it was clearly underneath our stove. There's a drawer that I could pull out. So I pulled the drawer out, I looked in there, and there's like a chunk of this really dumb foam insulation that they use to try and seal the holes that they have for the plumbing. And you could tell that it had been chewed up, and there's little particles of it everywhere. So I vacuumed all that up so that I could make sure if it was there again in the morning, then like this mouse is here and he's active. So basically this morning we talked about it, and we're decided now that we are going to pack everything up as soon as we're done work today.
Well, we confirmed that the mouse is active.
Yeah.
There's poop in the drawers with our utensils, which is so gross because we don't know how much water we have because the sensors aren't super accurate. Like, we have to go stay at a campground so we can wash everything. And we have to go get mouse traps.
Yeah. So the journey continued of trying to find things that were open around here. Basically, we called a co-op gas station in town, so it's 45 minutes away, and they do refill propane tanks, so we're good to go there. However, they also have an RV dump station that, according to iOverlander, it's open and usable. When I called, they said, no, it's not open until May. So we're like, okay, fine. But then they said, we'll call the provincial parks around here. There's 2 provincial parks north of us that have RV dump stations, and they're open year-round. So we called the provincial parks, and both of them said, nah, we don't think it's open. We don't really know. But, like, it might be, it might not be. So just endless frustration. We finally got a hold of a campground where this dude was saying basically that they are closed. They opened a little while ago, and then they had another freeze overnight, which ruined some of their plumbing. So they closed the park again, but he said they have some open sites because they have some seasonal sites. And he said he would rent us one of the seasonal sites for a few nights. So basically our plan is now we're going to pack up after work. We're going to drive to this campground. We're going to plug everything in. It's going to be full hookup. We're going to do a massive clean of everything, wash all of our utensils, wash out all of the drawers. We're going to run into town, go to Walmart and get some live traps for the mice, try to catch them, and we're going to stay at his place for a few days until we figure out the mouse problem. Because what we had thought was we can just pick up mouse traps and come back here, but then if we don't catch the mice in the first night, if there's multiple mice, there might only be one. We don't know.
We have no idea.
But if we don't catch them in the first night, he's going to shit all over our utensils again. So we're just going to have to wash them again, which we can't do because we don't have any hookups.
Yeah, so we'll stay at this campground for a couple of nights. Hopefully we can get the mouse situation sorted. We're going to get everything filled, dumped, everything, and then hopefully return here on
Friday or Saturday.
Yeah, between Friday and Sunday probably.
It just depends on the mouse problem, because if we can't get these guys out of here, we just have to stay there.
Yeah. The hope is going to be Friday to Sunday. We will come back here and stay one more week at this spot, but everything will be full, so we'll be able to last. And then we actually have an official campground booked for the 20th. So the 20th going forward, we are fully booked in until July, so we won't have to worry about all this again. But until that happens, it's just a journey, and we're just riding the wave, the dip, everything in between.
Yeah. We heard from another channel that like does RV stuff full time. They call this a dip, and like we've kind of lived by that as well. Like your adventure out on the road is always going to be ups and downs. You're going to have great moments, like our time in Yellowstone was fantastic, and then it was so cold overnight that our pipes froze, right? So you have these ups and downs, and in the long run, that's what your journey is going to be, is the average of the ups and the downs. So this is just a dip. This is just a down time that we're having right now. And honestly, it could be so much worse. And I feel like that has been our motto for the last week straight, has just been, it could be worse.
Yeah.
At least, thankfully, somebody can get us in. Mm-hmm. Or, you know, there's propane or whatever. Like, we don't have to drive 4 hours to Calgary to get propane and get water. Like, you know what I mean? So we're just thankful that it's not worse than it is. and we'll deal with it as it comes. So we'll figure this out and then we'll move on.
Yep.
It's been an adventure and it will continue. So I think tonight in that town there's a sushi restaurant that has really good reviews. So as a little pick-me-up, we might do sushi dinner.
We always need to pick me up, and food is always the answer. So
It's very true.
I want it. Anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow along this journey. See where we end up. See how it all goes. How long does it take to deal with the mice? And more.
Hopefully we can get enough propane. I'm still skeptical.